we're heading back to the early noughties, so that we can head even further back all the way to the mid-70s. We're going on tour with Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous on this episode of that song from that movie. And you can tell the Rolling Stone magazine that my last words were...
I genuinely don't remember.
I don't know this one.
I only watched it very recently.
Okay. He shouts, I'm on drugs.
I'm
on drugs.
He said it twice, didn't he?
Yeah.
As someone who works for a drug and alcohol service, I probably shouldn't record this.
This is all going in.
It's too late now. You have said it now.
Thank you for joining that song from that movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your One Day I'll Be Cool host, Dietrich, and joining us is my predominantly accelerated child, Alex. If you can hopefully hear him this time.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes entirely against the accelerated child statement.
It's so quick, he's unrecordable.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, to be fair, it probably is quite accurate.
If you haven't listened to our previous episode, Alex had some issues with his recording, let's say. Give it a listen, though. I included a clip so you could hear how bizarre his was. Yeah, something like that. And completing the lineup is my other child, who is rebellious and ungrateful of my love, Ben.
The second part might be true, but I have never been rebellious in my life.
Yeah, you're a good boy.
I might have I might be rebelling against the idea that I'm rebellious, which is now we're in a paradox.
It doesn't make you any cooler.
No, damn. Even Paradox Ben is no good.
I would like to know, in the past fortnight, what have you been watching?
Almost Famous. Not quite.
As the time between these episodes increases, you're getting more time to watch films.
Well,
The industry will not survive with this attitude.
I haven't been to the cinema.
I have been to the cinema once.
Go on.
To be fair, I cancelled my membership recently.
Oh my God. Well, there you go. So I went to see Paddington 3.
Oh, yeah.
Who Wants to Touch Me?
Go on.
Where's it sit in the Paddington verse?
So I would say it's the third best.
It could mean anything. That could mean anything.
It could mean anything.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So the film in itself is not bad. And there's been a lot of I don't know if either of you have read the reviews, but there's been a very lukewarm critical reception.
Ooh.
The thing is, like, it's fun, but it's not funny. It's not as witty and clever as the first and second. But then again, right, so this is it in context. If you watch the films as much as I have seen the films, the only really standout one is the second one. The first one is elevated by how good the second one is, and the third one is demoted by how good the second one is, if that makes any sense.
It makes all sense.
So, like, you see the second one, you think, oh yeah, better than the first one, but the first one was also great, because you saw the first one in its own context.
Yeah.
Then see the third one, it's like, it wasn't quite as good as the second one. So, it is fine, and it is worth watching, but it's just not quite as good, and it just doesn't quite hit in the same way. And the performances of, in the Hugh Grant role, let's call it, there's Olivia Colman and Antonio Banderas trying to kind of do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of, if you take the Hugh Grant role from the first one and split it into two characters, you kind of get it, but it's just not quite the performance from either of them that he gives. And so, like, you're sitting there going, yeah, this is good, but it's just not Hugh Grant. Yeah. It's just not Hugh Grant good.
It's just not Hugh Grant good. We're back to the late 90s, early 90s.
So it's fine. It's absolutely fine, and it's worth seeing, but it's just not quite there. And it feels like it should be the last one, because it can only go downhill from this point. But anyway, I'd recommend watching it, if only to be like, yeah, it's
well, my question to you is, as an adult without a child, is it worth going into a cinema screening full of children to watch this film, or should I just wait until it appears on whatever it's on?
I think just wait. Yeah, just wait. There's the cinema experience doesn't add much to it.
Okay.
But interestingly, so because the release of this film is bizarre, because it's like, why not do it in half term, or why not do it in the summer, or why not do it at Christmas? Why like mid-November? It's kind of a bit weird. But that has not affected the film, because it's the most successful box office of a British film since No Time to Die.
Wow.
Well, who would have predicted that it'd do better than Red One?
Yeah, isn't like 25 mil on like a 300 mil budget?
It's all that rock. It's all rock pissing in a bottle, and that's just the full film.
I can't believe he confirmed that was real.
Doesn't make him look good, does it? All the other stuff is not true, but I do win the ball.
I don't have anything to add to this segment.
You've not watched a film?
I've not watched it. Well, I've watched White Chicks, but like, come on.
I love the dichotomy. You
Tell
watched
us.
White Chicks. I watched the Russian film Stalker.
Okay, well, let's not get into that because it's almost time to get into our almost famous breakdown. That was a bad segue, but to find out what's happening in the world when the movie came out.
Time for some history.
Right then, yes, we are going back to September 2000. Now, I thought there'd be loads of cool things going on in September 2000, just after summer, the millennium year. What a boring month. My god, it was hard to find anything interesting, but eventually I stumbled upon an absolute memory gem in the back of my mind. So something came out, a film came out in September 2000 called Cyberworld. Do you know what this is?
No?
Cyberworld was a collaboration of computer animated films that was released in 3D. Now, I remember going to see this at the IMAX in Bradford because that came out around this time. And basically what it was a combination of the Simpsons episode where he's 3D. It was a section from the DreamWorks feature film Ants. And then there was a weird kind of performance of basically it was like a synthetic hostess called Fig who kind of talks through like futuristic galleries and wild adventures. You go on like, it's almost like roller coasters and stuff like this. I remember going to see the Simpsons episode in 3D at the IMAX. And then I also remember weirdly watching Ants afterwards in 3D. And it must have been this film. I thought I was just seeing like random clips put together, but it must have been Cyberworld.
Was it good?
Well, seeing the Simpsons episode in 3D, I mean, slow down, egghead.
When we say 3D, was it like blue and red paper goggles like they used to get in those magazines, or was it like
what the
3D
IMAX
that we know now?
The IMAX was different though, wasn't it? It was always kind of weird. I thought it was incredible, the one at the Film and Photography Museum, because it was early on. It must have been the only IMAX in the country probably at the time.
Certainly outside London.
Yeah, probably. Most of the things I remember seeing there were almost like 4D sort of style effects without the smells. I also think we saw... Did we go and see Kung Fu Panda there or something once with school?
Oh,
yes,
yeah, we did.
We did it in sixth form for some reason. I feel like we were in sixth form or around that age.
Yeah, it was sixth form. I think it was. We were too old to be watching Kung Fu Panda.
Did we also see Sahara there?
No,
I don't think that was at the IMAX. That was Kirkstall, I think.
Because I had to sit next to the fucking teachers. Still remember that.
Sahara. Why would they take it? Why that film?
I don't know.
Agent Cody Banks 2?
Oh, we did. We also saw Agent Cody Banks 2, didn't we? Destination London.
Yeah, close enough.
With Hannah from S Club 7.
Right, but but an actual good film did come out in September 2000, which was Almost Famous.
I thought you were about to say Agent Cody Banks 1.
Yeah, no. Frankie Muniz doesn't remember that one.
That's a myth, by the way.
It is a myth, yeah, I know it's a myth, but I just wanted to know if you'd actually get the reference.
Yes. Yeah.
So Almost Famous is a semi-autobiographical drama written and directed by Cameron Crowe, starring the likes of Billy Crudup? I don't know. Frances McDormand, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Kate Hudson in her star-making role. It follows the story of a teenage journalist for Rolling Stone magazine who follows the on-tour antics of the fictitious band Stillwater. Before I go into a bit more about the film, what are your guys' thoughts? So you two had never seen this before I suggested we go for this film.
That's right.
Yes.
I am very interested about views, so I'm going to go to you first, D.
Cool. Prior to watching this for the first time, this movie to me was essentially just a movie poster. Almost felt like it had been designed specifically as set dressing for TV shows and movies set in the early noughties. Like, you want to set a scene in a college, stick that poster of Kate Hudson with the sunglasses on the wall, and you can go and break. Anyway, yeah, so as you said, I've seen it, so let's get into it. So on a postcard, I really enjoyed the movie.
Okay, good.
I didn't expect it to be quite the touching journey that it was. I guess just based on that poster, I was almost thinking it was going to be a style over substance scenario. So for it to have, in my opinion, a strong heart at the core of the film, it was a surprise, but it was a welcome one. One of the things which I liked was how the movie sort of escalated. I felt like it was continually taking leaps, but somehow it never, to me, felt like it was would that really happen? Each jump, like from the aspiring music journalist, I suppose, to being on tour with the band. I mean, it's definitely a leap, but the movie does a very astute job in making it feel like a natural progression of the story, rather than like a means to the end of getting this character up into the meat and potatoes of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I don't know if I went into it with that thought of, I'm not going to enjoy this, and when I slightly enjoyed it, I now think I really enjoyed it.
I always like those ones when you don't expect it to be good and it's good.
Yeah, but I do worry that I've rated it on a curve, but yeah, as a general thought, I really enjoyed it.
This was a well-loved film at the time, and it's on a lot of sort of like greatest films of all time list, so, don't worry about that one. Alex, what did you think?
So I'm gonna start this with saying that what I watched was not the film Almost Famous. What I watched was the bootleg cut of Almost Famous, as it is called, by accident. Right, so because I get getting really confused. Yeah, so the normal film is around 2 hours, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
The version I saw was 2 hours and 50 minutes. So it's the extended director's cut, and it's called the bootleg version. I only found this out when I finished it. I was like, "Why is this film?"
You watched a super long version.
I watched a super long version.
Oh my god!
And this is it. Like, I agree pretty much with everything that Dee said in terms of the way that the story flows. It's like it's almost too much to believe, but it isn't quite. And you really do feel like you're on this weird ride, like he is essentially.
Yeah.
You're literally sat with this 15-year-old kid and be like, you just right in his shoes. Like, this is a very trippy experience. I think there are points where the dialogue and the script teetered on the edge of becoming cringe. There were points where like some of the things that they were saying was just like, yeah, music's great, but it's just like, is it really these things? But I think it's like, there was always still an edge of cynicism there. So like you had the Philip Seymour Hoffman character lurking in the background. Obviously, you kind of knew there was going to be some darkness to come in the storyline with the Penny Lane character as well. I think that was always bubbling under the surface. So like, no matter like what the band was saying or what his kind of experience as the young journalist of mostly positive for a lot of the film, I think that was at least they pushed it to an extent that it never went too far, and it was always pulled back in. So the cringe level just kind of never quite happened. So that was good. But the weird thing about the bootleg version is the film just goes on and on and on and on and on, and you keep thinking it's going to end soon. It's like, but how is it going to end? How is it going to end? And from the research that I've done, a lot of people say that the bootleg version is the definitive version.
Okay.
It is the best version of the film because obviously I've never seen the normal version, so I can't speak for how that experience was. But this was like, I don't know, it was kind of like an otherworldly experience. Like you were just lost in this story for for probably way too long, but you got so absorbed in it because it went on. You really felt like you were literally on a tour of with this band because it just kept on going. And by the end you were just like, God, what a ride. What a ride.
Okay.
Like, you felt like you'd really lived after watching this version of the film. So I would recommend it if you've not seen. If you enjoyed the normal version, I bet this is better.
So you enjoyed it though, even with the who knows how many extra hours of footage.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. I did really like it. But like I said, there was points where I was like, this is about to get too, like using the word cringe. But I think it was just the way they kind of spoke about music was very sentimental, and it was very like saccharine at points. Like it was just teetering on the edge, like I say. But I don't know, because it was the extended cut, but like it very quickly moved away from that. So it never lingered on that kind of isn't music great narrative trope for long. Yeah. And not that that's a bad thing, but it's just it can become a bit one note kind of. It's like what a great time to be alive. What a great experience. There were points where I was hoping for a bit more grit potentially, but there were elements of that in there. It was more subtextual, and you kind of had to dig for it a bit, but I think it was in there, and it was saying a lot of interesting things. I just enjoyed it. I don't think it was, like I say, I don't think it was a really deep film. No. Terms of the story, but it was a fun film, and it really did feel like it felt like you were on the same experience that the 15-year-old journalist was on. Yeah. So yeah, I did like it.
I think it does jump from I guess wow, wasn't music great to, oh, isn't music great? And I guess that's the Stillwater thing of like they're a band who have just missed the boat, and like they're trying to make it, but it's kind of like the dream's gone. And I guess that's the Philip Seymour Hoffman character of saying it was good and it was a good ride, but the old ways are going now, and I guess people are still trying to cling on to it, and I do like that. I do think the sentimentality is on purpose as well, of this side of almost wishing things could just be good all the time, and actually it's not always that. It's not like everything is kind of as what happens to the Penny Lane character, but I do think even some of the characters in general, they're kind of just pretending that life isn't going to come crashing down at any moment, and this is all just going to end very quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of like a long dream sequence.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and I think on the cringe point as well, I think because we're seeing the film from the main character's perspective, really, there's also an element of like their posers sort of thing. So like if what they're saying is true, it's definitely cringe. But there's also an element of like they think this is what you're supposed to say to a music journalist.
I think that's definitely true. I think that is definitely true. Yeah,
because like they're still around, isn't it? They're going to these kind of places where it's like, oh, Bob Dylan was here, or like who's it they keep talking about at the start? But yeah, like Black Sabbath or something, toured through here recently, and there's that like, oh, we've just missed them, and I guess that's the big thing, isn't it? It's like it's just been missed, and whereas he's William Miller character, the 15-year-old, is just trying to get into it, and he's still coming into it with starry eyes. And I guess it's just the sheen is washed off a little bit. And the film is still an ode to music in a way, isn't it? Or at least an ode to the 70s style of Americana or rock, which clearly Cameron Crowe loves. Because the film is, I said, semi-autobiographical. A lot of what happens in the film is based on truth and has been corroborated, including even some of the more extreme things. I'll tell you some of the stuff that we know is definitely based on truth. So Cameron Crowe himself, as a teenager...
He's a real person? Oh, right.
As a teenager, he wrote for Rolling Stones.
Wow.
Like, he was actually writing for Rolling Stones as a teenager, which is pretty incredible. In a very similar way, he was writing for someone in a local newspaper who then sent his stuff on to Rolling Stones, and he started to tour with rock bands. Specifically, very famous rock bands. So he toured with the Allman Brothers Band, to which I think it was the lead singer, Greg Allman, was very distrusting of him, kept calling him a narc, would refuse to interview with him. So a lot of that stuff's true. Apparently Cameron Crowe's mother was exactly like Frances McDormand portrayed her. The plane in the storm scene?
Oh, yeah.
Which seems a bit ridiculous. Yeah, it was true. Apparently he was flying with The Who, and that happened. All of the people on the plane started shouting out, their final truths before they before the Judgment Day. So there's a lot of ridiculous stuff, but a lot of it apparently is based on truth. And I think actually Greg Allman, in an interview, I think it was in about 2019, talked about the film and said that like the scene where he stood on the roof and jumps off into the pool, that was him, and he did that one night. And a lot of other little things of the Russell Hammond character, the Billy Crudup character, was based on stuff that the Allman Brothers Band did. So it's a lot of it, I think, is corroborated, which is pretty ridiculous, really. And it is just basically him retelling it through a continuous narrative of all the experience he had when he was 15, which is it's absolutely absurd to me what I was doing as a 15-year-old.
Yeah, because I was thinking watching it, like, why make it a 15-year-old? Like, I was trying to understand, like, why that set up to the film of him being, like, ahead of his age and him being that age, like, why that was significant. That's what I was trying to work out, but clearly part of it's just based
that's true
on,
as well. He was pushed forward 2 years at school. He graduated school 2 years early.
Yeah, so it's just basically based on his life.
It is basically based on...
Yeah.
I mean, so Cameron Crowe's debut screenwriting effort was Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which I guess is like a seminal, school comedy drama, of which I think he pretended to be at a different high school to learn what it was like for a month. Almost Famous is like the peak of his success. I think Roger Ebert said it was his greatest film of 2000. It was on a lot of best film of 2000s lists. And is still quite highly regarded as a sort of a great film, and it did win Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars that year.
Wow.
And it's odd because Cameron Crowe's career basically just disappeared after this film. He did Vanilla Sky a year later, and then has kind of just done crap. Whereas, like, he did Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Say Anything, which is great. He did Jerry Maguire, which is a great film.
Jerry Maguire, of course.
Yeah. And then he's kind of just done, like, he did We Bought a Zoo, Aloha. Elizabethtown, do you remember that film?
Yes, I do.
That's kind of it. So yeah, he's done a few sort of music video stuff and music documentaries. He did like a Pearl Jam documentary and stuff, but that's kind of it. So it's weird. So this basically stands as his sort of seminal film, and the fact that is his life story, and he is a huge lover of music. I think the record collection that William looks at in the film is his own record collection.
Yeah.
Just a quick pause to say, wow, this film has a great sort of like spot them, and you know, blink and you'll miss them kind of people in the background.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
It must have been just like a huge Hollywood sort of like production.
I didn't realise Jimmy Fallon could act.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon, isn't he?
Well, I mean, could he? He's probably the downbeat of the entire film.
Normally, a film around the time would spend about $1.5 million max. So that's $1.5 million on music rights. Almost Famous, not a huge budget, spent $3.5 million just getting the rights for various songs for the film. You could see how, just from that, Cameron Crowe clearly wanted the music to be authentic and be, I guess, representative.
Yeah, it feels like licensed music was definitely needed for this film.
Yeah, if you look at the soundtrack, it's such an incredible soundtrack. You've got Simon and Garfunkel, The Who, Beach Boys, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Led Zeppelin, David Bowie, Cat Stevens, Elton John. I mean, they hired Peter Frampton to serve as a technical consultant for the film. And they got Nancy Wilson of Heart fame to write a few Stillwater songs. I think
Cool.
In fact, I think all the Stillwater songs were either written by Nancy Wilson, Peter Frampton himself, or Mike McCready of Pearl Jam.
Yeah. With the songs, I was going to say this. They never really gave you a lot of their music, did they?
No.
I think it felt like it was a purposeful choice to avoid doing that. But I'm not really sure why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like there was
I
a
don't know
few
why.
scenes where they were playing, but it was they only ever really gave you like 10, 20 seconds. Because you'd think, like, especially when you watch the bootleg version, they would have had like full versions. of
Yeah,
songs
I mean,
and
there
stuff,
is
but they did
one
not.
song on, but that's credited to Stillwater on the album. But I mean, and Cameron Crowe asked them to like practice almost as a band for like days and days and days beforehand. You know, just to get the movements right at least. Not necessarily that they had to play instruments, but it's just that he clearly was so specific on how the film should look. And in a way, I think if you're that specific on, a bit like you were saying, Dee, like aesthetic, it's quite incredible to actually have substance to the film. But even with all those songs, today specifically, we are focusing on one particular song, which is Elton John's Tiny Dancer, which features at about 2/3 through the film in one of its most indelible scenes where Stillwater and friends are on the tour bus, feeling fraught and despondent with each other as tempers have recently flared, only for the song to start playing and all to find unity singing together once more. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on this. It's quite an odd aspect, I think, that the song starts as a soundtrack and then becomes diegetic. It becomes actually in the film, which is quite interesting how they do that, and I quite like that. But Alex, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I was going to comment on that. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, it starts playing and you think, oh, it's going to be like every other scene where there's been a song playing in the background while they're on the road. Yeah, it's an interesting song because obviously, like I said, tensions are high at that moment because you've just had the scene where, God, the character played by Billy Crudup has just had his kind of like drunken, drug-fueled evening,
Yeah.
and then has come back. They've just had a huge blowout. And yeah, it kind of blends seamlessly, doesn't it, from soundtrack into actual.
It's
scene.
when the drummer starts like hitting it on the chair, doesn't
Yeah.
it? As that, and it's so well done.
Yeah, and it's just it was such a warm moment in the film, I think. But I mean, like, there are lots of moments that get you kind of like feeling like have that warm feeling to them, but this was like the kind of pinnacle of that, where it's like like the right lights coming in through the windows. There's like kind of yellowy kind of haze in the background of everything that's happening, and it just feels like, yes, we're on a road trip and we're having a lovely time. This is a moment that they will all remember from the tour. It has that feel about it where all of a sudden, despite the differences that are there, they all kind of came together in that one perfect moment. And so it is just a really, really well done scene, and everyone kind of gets their little moment in it to kind of shine, but then it's all together as well, and it just it was a really, really lovely piece of cinema.
D, what do you think?
I mean, I love the song. You guys know I enjoy the music of Elton John. So because I knew the song and did, as I've mentioned before, have entered the film with unfair expectations, let's say, I wasn't sure how this was going to fit beforehand. And even up until that point in the film, I still had reservations because I was skeptical of how it was going to fit. So after it finished, my actual first thought was, I'm not sure if it was the right song choice. Like, I liked like the visual aspect of it. Like Alex mentioned, like the haze, it almost felt like, well, I know they were in the moment, but almost felt like looking back, almost like reminiscing on good times sort of thing. It had that glow of like...
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
All I can think of is Andy from The Office saying that, I wish there was a way you could know it was the good times whilst they were still happening.
Yeah, it definitely has that feel, doesn't it?
Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with the song. I just didn't feel like it was the right song almost. I don't know. It felt like to me it should have been more guitar-based, like acoustic-y guitar-based. I've written down here with a question mark because I'm not happy with the suggestion, but feel free to chime off.
I was about to ask if you had one.
Hotel California felt like it would have been a better choice.
Okay.
I don't know, something that I feel like the band themselves...
That's too heartbreaky though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not... like I say, I had a question mark next to it. I almost feel like, going back to what I was saying about the band almost being posers because there's a journalist there, I almost feel like they wouldn't have thought it was cool to sing Elton John in the 70s.
I mean, I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah, well, I can see that.
Yeah, but I had that same thought.
I don't know.
I had the exact same thought as you, D, when it came on. I was like, this feels like it's not their kind of music. But then Americans have a different relationship to Elton John than maybe we do in this country,
really
potentially.
That's true, yeah.
They see him as, because he was quite an outspoken, like, proper rocker, wasn't he? I think his social life was a lot more well-known as well at that point.
Yeah, we kind of maybe think of him more as, like, pop here rather than that kind of...
Yeah,
that kind of cool.
Well,
this is
70s Elton as opposed to the 80s and 90s Elton,
Yeah.
like post rehab, where he's a bit more sort of straight and camp.
Yeah.
But I think part of why it did work for me was that it almost felt wrong, because it was sort of like that's what made it a moment in a way.
Yeah, I
like
can see that.
It was the wrong. It almost like exactly what you said. It was the wrong song, and that's what sort of made it the right song. But I completely agree. I get what you're saying, D. It did feel odd.
Yeah, I quite like how they make it almost like in how it works in the scene into a true sort of power ballad of like how it grows. But because they come together almost with that last one where they're almost like shouting out, they all looking at each other. I do like that. And I think in a way, well, and we'll talk about it, the film had a huge effect on the song. And in a way, I think a lot of us know this song because of this film and we don't even realise. So, and I will tell you why in a minute.
Is that because of Ed Sheeran?
No, it's not because of Ed Sheeran. Let's not talk about Ed Sheeran right now. A lot of the sort of ins and outs of this scene we know from a roundtable discussion, which was done fairly recently for the 20th anniversary release during COVID. And I think a lot of people were doing these things where, like, Zoom chats, and they were putting them up on YouTube, where the cast and crew spoke with Rolling Stone magazine, actually. So Cameron Crowe stated that they had no script for the scene. All it said in his original script was, they listen to Tiny Dancer on the bus and sing along as Russell realises the warmth of community of his band and crew. And that's all they had. Everything else was kind of like, movements or anything like that. It was just like, just go with it. Even like Kate Hudson's line of, you are home, that was improvised. So they were saying at the time that there was a real sort of strong feeling of we've got to get this right for this scene. They were behind on schedule, and Cameron Crowe said it's going to take 2 days of just doing this scene, where he kind of saw it as the most important scene in the film. And when they were doing it, all the cast apparently had that same feeling, even though they were singing the song for the umpteenth time. It still felt like this is everything, this is the point of the film in this one scene. And Billy Crudup was saying, life ebbs and flows, relationships wax and wane, but the thing that keeps this group together, and they keep coming back to, is music, is the power of music. Even when they were saying it, I was watching them back as like, a bit like you were saying, Alex, like, God, it's cringy. And I get it. I do think that's right, but it's just how they say it. It's like, yeah, you're right. I think people can get like this when they talk about music or films. Yeah, I agree that it's important and incredible, but you just say it in such a way that makes me think, ugh.
Well, it's hard to describe something that's emotional, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's very true. We've kind of, in trying to do it in detail without making it sound very cognitive. But apparently Elton himself loves the film. He apparently played the scene on repeat when he first got it, which might be a bit egotistical, Elton.
So Elton.
So Elton, yeah, apparently. Cameron Crowe said that Elton contacted him and said he got the entire essence of what the song is about. And Elton gives a lot of credit to the film for the mythology of the song and its renaissance. It's now seen as a classic, but it wasn't on release.
Okay.
The song itself was written by, longtime lyricist Bernie Taupin, alongside Elton. It was on his 1971 album Madman Across the Water, and it's the opening single. But the song did really poor on release, for an Elton John song especially. So it reached number 41 in the States, and it wasn't even released as a single in the UK. He didn't even bother releasing it. He released other songs from the album. Many radio stations found its runtime to be too long, because I think it's over 6 minutes, like the actual proper full song. And in America, a lot of radio stations banned it because of the line "Jesus Freaks." So when the film came out, though, it started becoming a popular hit again, and everyone started revisiting it. Elton played it more at his concerts, and then all of a sudden had this renaissance. And Rolling Stones actually in 2010 put it as 397 of their 500 greatest songs of all time. It sounded like Elton himself almost fell in love with it again because of how it was used in the film. Alex, do you think you can think of a song of Dee's description that would work better?
I think Hotel California's just like got more of that. It's more downbeat, isn't it? I understand why you'd say that, like an Eagles song, maybe another Eagles song like Take It Easy or something.
Yeah. Or they could have, like any sort of film depicting the 70s, should have just put Fortunate Son on.
Yeah, they could have done that. Or something like Kansas or something, I don't know.
Some Kansas.
Dust in the wind.
Some Creedence Clearwater.
From a quick Google,
Go on.
songs like Hotel California by the Eagles, according to Reddit, Horse with No Name, I think that would have fit.
Yeah.
It would have been a bit more existential.
House of the Rising Sun, Sunshine of Your Love, Sweet Jane, Lola. Lola's a good shout, actually.
Lola's a good shout, yeah. Or Layla.
Oh, Layla.
Top 5.
Alright, head-to-head time. So I thought I'd try something a bit different now, because I'm always doing different things. At the moment in this head-to-head, Alex is ahead by 1.
Or is he? Seeing as no one heard it last
Well, I
week.
was going to say it wasn't. It was never on.
Well, true.
If Alex wins a quiz and no one hears, did it really happen?
The old WWE thing. I was watching that Vince McMahon documentary where he was saying, like, Hulk Hogan had never slammed Andre the Giant for WrestleMania 3, and he'd done it about 100 times already by that point. It's just because if you say that it's never happened, it's never happened.
That's nice.
Don't break kayfabe, Ben.
Yeah, well, they've done it on that documentary 1,000 times. So what I've done is, because we are of the UK variety, I've gone through and got every single top 10 Elton John song. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is, I'm going to ask you to go head-to-head and pick 4 Elton John songs each. Now, and I'm going to rank them and score them by their placing in the charts for the song you pick, and then I'm going to add them all together and see who wins. So, for example, if you pick a song that got to number 1 in the charts, you get 10 points. If it got to 10, you get 1 point. Anything lower, you get 0 points.
Okay.
I want you to go head-to-head. D, since you're in kayfabe, you're behind. I want you to go for a song. So you're looking for an Elton John song that got to number 1, or at least the highest charting rank. I'll give you a clue. 5 number 1s he's got.
Just 5?
Yeah, I mean, he's got like 15 songs in the top 10.
My number 1 draft pick is Candle in the Wind.
Okay.
Wait, but which version?
The Diana version. The Diana version.
Okay, a good thing you said that, because I was about to. Alex,
Okay.
go next.
I'll go your song, I mean, all the versions combined. But I know I think it was his first number one, potentially.
Okay, your song. Go on. D.
Oh, they're back to me. Okay. Let's go Tiny Dancer.
Tiny Dancer.
I mean, so we know that's a bad choice, though, because Ben just told us it didn't chart well.
So, yep.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Anyway, I'm going to go... I'm thinking Lion King. I'm going to go Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
Okay. Sorry seems to be the hardest word.
So we're flying.
I'm going to go I'm Still Standing.
Okay, I'm Still Standing. Oh, D, you didn't like that sound, did you? You didn't like that one?
No.
Your last choice now, D, be careful.
I'll go Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
Oh, that's such a good choice. That's what I was going to go with. Christ.
Okay, Alex, last choice.
I don't know if this counts officially as an Elton song, but it was huge when it came out.
You're taking a risk.
I'm taking a risk. Are You Ready for Love?
Okay.
Because you know the remix version that came out. That's what I'm thinking of. Are you
going with the remix version then, Alex? You have to pick. You have to tell me if you're going for the original or the remix.
I'm going for the remix.
Yeah, go for
version,
the remix. Yeah.
Okay.
The remix was huge. I felt that could have been a number one hit. Could be wrong.
Okay. Whew. It's tense in here, guys. I'll tell you that.
Can't believe neither of us went for Step Into Christmas.
Now, Alex, I'm going to ask you to have to clarify something for me.
Right, go on.
Are you going with the original release of your song, or are you going for the 2002 Sport Relief version?
Was that Ellie Goulding? Or was that a different?
No, it's Elton John. It's not the Ellie Goulding one, it's Elton John. But original or Sport Relief?
Oh, Christ.
They are technically considered two different songs.
I'll go with the original. I mean, even if that's the wrong answer, I feel like I can't go for the 2002 Sport Relief.
Okay, right, give me 2 seconds to add this up then. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about your chances?
Bad. I threw away a pick.
I feel like it could go either way. I'm just thinking, like, why did I not go for Step Into Christmas? It's a Christmas song.
Yeah, and I just had a thought of, like, didn't Cold Heart with Dua Lipa go to number one recently?
Oh, that's a good shout. Oh, but neither of us went for Rocket Man.
Okay, let's start. D, your first pick. This is very, what's the show with Les Dennis?
Family Fortunes.
Family
Fortunes, yeah, it's that thing. Our survey said.
Family Feud for American friends.
So, Candle in the Wind, Diana version.
Yeah.
You got 10 points, it got to number one.
Yeah, of course it did.
Of course it did.
Okay. Alex, your song, it got to number 7 in the charts.
Oh,
so 3 points. If you'd have gone...
Should I have gone for the 2002?
If you'd have gone for the 2002 version of your song, it got to number 4.
Oh, okay, so it would have been much different.
So, at the moment, it's 10-3.
You made it sound like it was the most difficult decision, thing I had to ever choose between in my life.
Yeah, go on.
Tiny Dancer.
Yeah.
We have just said never charted.
Yeah.
0 points.
Yeah.
Could that cost him? Alex.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not feeling confident about my options. No.
Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Got to number 14 in the charts. 0 points.
Really?
Yeah, 0 points.
Jesus Christ.
Even Circle of Life, 11th in the charts.
That is surprising.
Still, the score is 10-3. D. Sorry seems to be the hardest word.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it?
Not great.
It got to number 1. It got to number 1.
Oh. 10
points again.
Well, this is not looking good for me now.
Alex, I'm Still Standing. It got to number 4 in the charts.
Jesus, what's wrong with my choices?
6 points. So at the moment, the score is 20-9. Do you know what that means, Alex?
It means I can't win, right?
You can't win. Although, this is the thing. D, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me.
Yeah.
It's George. It was considered technically a George Michael song. George Michael was released. It was released under his name, featuring Elton John. So it's technically not classed as an Elton John song. It's not considered on his charting.
Okay.
Alex, Are You Ready for Love remix? It got to number 1. You got 10 points.
Christ, I lost by 1 point.
You lost by 1 point.
Could have just bloody said Rocket Man for one of my answers. I would have won.
Rocket Man got to number 2, so you'd have got 9 points.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that's still good.
The other songs that got to number 1, Don't Go Breaking My Heart with Kiki D, Something About the Way You Look Tonight, and something called Sacrifice/Healing Hands. I don't know that song.
I do like this format, though. That was good.
I do. I prefer this format to the other
Go
version.
for that one next time. Go for a music version.
Yeah.
I'm always trying new things out and putting feelers out.
Well, we need to make this podcast more music-based.
Yeah, there is a problem with that.
It's very film-centric.
So that ends another episode of That Song from That Movie. Let us know on one of our many social media platforms, including Blue Sky, what you think of the movie and the song.
The fuck is
Alex,
Blue Sky?
what is our social media handle? I almost said Twer.
What is Blue Sky? What is Blue
TSF TM pod. I did just whisper very quietly. What the fuck is Blue Sky?
Blue Sky is the new Twer. It's all right. At the moment, it feels like early days of Twer, which is a good thing.
Oh, nice.
And we're on there too.
We could become the kings of Blue Sky.
So you can also help the podcast by sharing this on a random subreddit. But Ben, what random subreddit should everyone share it on this week?
Oh, the Jimmy Fallon subreddit. What disappointing, embarrassing people would be on that subreddit?
Probably exists there, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Is it just Jimmy Fallon? Is he the only person in it?
Yeah, just nervously laughing, but typing it.
And what was the name of that kid that was on recently where all the clips of Jimmy Fallon looking sad went viral? Is it the Rizzler?
Oh, the fucking Rizzler, that Instagram kid.
Yeah.
Okay, now. One of mine Zoe's favourite videos is Jimmy Fallon calling Ru Paul a drag queen, and he reacts by going, "A drag queen!" And he in like a flash, he thinks he's about to get cancelled, and then Ru Paul says, "I'm the queen of drag," and he literally lets out an audible sigh, as you can just see in his eyes, like, "Oh my god, I fucked up."
What have I said?
Oh, amazing. So you can also help the podcast by signing up to our Patreon, buying our merch, leaving a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this podcast, which will help other people find the podcast, or just telling all your friends about it. So all that's left now is to do some goodbyes. So it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and goodbye from Alex.
I am a golden god.
Of course he was going to use that one.
And goodbye from our drag queen, Ben.
Fuck you, Stillwater.
So goodbye, everybody. Bye.
A bit.
Can you hear these fireworks going off behind me?
I heard it then when you spoke.
A bit.
They must be so incredibly close to the house. It lit up the room.
Why are people doing fireworks on the 16th of November?
They've been doing it since the 16th of October.
Oh, you'll do with all these fireworks?
It's ridiculous.
A little bit every day.
I can hear children shouting outside now. I wonder if one of them got hit.
Well, serves them right. Do you remember at school when they threw it down the corridor?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely remember people getting hit.
Oh, man. Kids these days don't know how good they've got it.